When we think of homelessness, a certain image often comes to mind. We might picture someone sleeping on a park bench, bundled in layers against the cold. But the truth is, homelessness wears many faces. It's the single mother, evicted from her apartment after losing her job. It's the young person, aged out of foster care with nowhere to go. It's the veteran, struggling with trauma and unable to hold down a job. Homelessness doesn't discriminate. It affects people of all ages, races and backgrounds. Each person has a story, a unique set of circumstances that led them to this point. To understand homelessness, we must look beyond the stereotypes. We must see the human beings behind the statistics, each one deserving of our compassion and support. The scope of homelessness in America is staggering. Every night, hundreds of thousands of people across the country experience homelessness. They sleep on the streets, in shelters or in temporary housing. According to the National Alliance to End Homelessness, over 500,000 people were experiencing homelessness on a single night in January 2022. That's more than the entire population of some cities. The problem is particularly acute in major urban areas. Cities like Los Angeles, New York and Seattle have seen a dramatic rise in homelessness in recent years. These numbers paint a bleak picture. They represent individuals, families and children living in precarious and often dangerous situations. It's a national crisis that demands our attention and action. Homelessness is a complex issue with no single cause. It's a web of interconnected factors that trap people in a cycle of poverty and instability. One major contributor is the lack of affordable housing. Across the country, wages haven't kept pace with the rising costs of rent and housing. This leaves many families just one paycheck away from losing their homes. Economic hardship plays a significant role as well. Job loss, unexpected medical bills or a family crisis can quickly push people over the edge. Without a financial safety net, they may find themselves with nowhere to turn. But homelessness isn't just about economics. Mental health issues and substance abuse often contribute to homelessness. Without adequate support and treatment, individuals struggling with these challenges may find it difficult to maintain housing or employment. Let's talk about housing, or more accurately, the lack of it. In cities across America, finding an affordable place to live has become a Herculean task. Wages are stagnant, while rent and housing prices skyrocket. It's a recipe for disaster. For low-wage workers, the situation is dire. Imagine working full-time, maybe even holding down 2 jobs, yet still unable to afford a basic apartment. This is the reality for millions of Americans. The shortage of affordable housing has a ripple effect. Families are forced to make impossible choices between paying rent or putting food on the table. They live paycheck to paycheck, constantly teetering on the brink of homelessness. And when people do lose their homes, finding a new one can feel impossible. Long waiting lists for public housing, strict eligibility requirements, and discrimination based on income or past evictions create formidable barriers. Section 5. Mental health and addiction, unseen struggles. Behind the statistics are real people grappling with complex challenges. Mental illness and substance abuse often play a significant role in homelessness. These are not character flaws, but serious health issues that require understanding and treatment. Imagine living with untreated schizophrenia or severe depression. It becomes incredibly difficult to hold down a job, maintain relationships, or even care for basic needs. The same goes for someone battling addiction. Sadly, our mental health system is fragmented and underfunded. People can't get the help they need when and where they need it. This lack of support can lead to a downward spiral, making it even harder to escape homelessness. Section 6. Escaping violence, finding homelessness. For some, home is not a safe haven but a place of fear and danger. Domestic violence is a leading cause of homelessness, particularly for women and children. Imagine fleeing an abusive partner with only the clothes on your back. You might end up in a shelter, but those are often overcrowded and temporary. The trauma of domestic violence can have lasting effects, making it difficult to rebuild a stable life. The emotional scars, coupled with financial instability and lack of support, can make finding permanent housing an uphill battle. Children who experience homelessness due to domestic violence are especially vulnerable. They may face disruptions in their education, health problems, and emotional distress. Breaking this cycle of trauma and displacement is crucial. Section 7. Systemic inequalities, a deeper look. Homelessness doesn't happen in a vacuum. It's deeply intertwined with systemic inequalities that permeate our society. Race, ethnicity, and socioeconomic status all play a role in who experiences homelessness and why. In America, people of color are disproportionately affected by homelessness. They face higher rates of poverty, discrimination in housing and employment, and a legacy of systemic racism that limits their opportunities. For example, Black Americans are significantly more likely to experience homelessness than their white counterparts. This disparity reflects centuries of discriminatory policies and practices that have created and perpetuated racial inequities. Addressing homelessness requires acknowledging and dismantling these systemic barriers. It demands a commitment to equity and justice for all. Section 8. Fighting Back Strategies and Solutions. Despite the enormity of the challenge, there is hope. Across the country, dedicated individuals and organizations are working tirelessly to combat homelessness. One promising approach is the Housing First model. This philosophy prioritizes providing permanent housing to individuals experiencing homelessness without preconditions such as sobriety or employment. The idea is that stable housing provides a foundation for addressing other challenges, like mental health or addiction. Supportive housing programs go hand in hand with Housing First. They offer wraparound services like case management, job training, and mental health counseling to help individuals maintain their housing and rebuild their lives. Emergency shelters provide a crucial safety net, offering temporary housing and basic necessities. But the goal is always to move people from shelters into permanent housing as quickly as possible. Section 9. Obstacles to progress, funding and perception. While these efforts are making a difference, significant obstacles remain. Funding for homeless services is often inadequate and subject to political whims. This lack of consistent and sustainable funding hampers the ability of organizations to provide effective and long-term solutions. Public perception can also be a barrier. Homelessness is often stigmatized, leading to NIMBYism, not in my backyard, an opposition to affordable housing projects in some communities. We need to change the narrative around homelessness. It's not a personal failing, but a societal issue that requires collective action. We must advocate for increased funding, challenge negative stereotypes, and create a culture of empathy and support. Section 10. A call to action, hope, and a way forward. The fight against homelessness is far from over, but amidst the challenges, there are glimmers of hope. Successful initiatives demonstrate that ending homelessness is possible. We can all be part of the solution. Volunteer at a local shelter, donate to organizations working on the front lines, and contact your elected officials to demand policies that address the root causes of homelessness. It's time to move beyond simply managing homelessness to actively preventing it. By investing in affordable housing, expanding access to mental health and addiction treatment, and dismantling systemic barriers, we can create a future where everyone has a safe and stable place to call home.